Welcome to week 1 of our ICH GCP training program. This module is titled Introduction to Clinical Research and ICH GCP. Over the next hour, we'll lay the foundation for understanding how modern clinical trials are conducted ethically, safely, and in alignment with global standards. This journey begins by exploring the key principles, structures, and stakeholders that govern trials worldwide. By the end of this module, you'll be able to explain the history and purpose of ICH GCP, identify key regulatory agencies like the FDA and EMA, and understand the ethical foundations that guide all research involving human subjects. We'll also break down the structure of ICH E6, including recent updates, and explore the roles that different stakeholders play in clinical research. Clinical research is the backbone of medical innovation. It involves studying human volunteers to test the safety and effectiveness of new treatments. It's essential not only for developing new drugs and devices, but also for improving healthcare outcomes. There are two main types: interventional, where participants receive a treatment, and observational, where researchers simply collect data without altering the course of care. As you see in the visual, trials typically follow 4 phases, from small safety studies to large-scale post-market surveillance. Our current standards didn't emerge overnight. In 1947, the Nuremberg Code introduced the concept of voluntary consent after WTO atrocities. The Declaration of Helsinki followed in 1964, offering ethical guidance for physicians. The U.S. contributed with the Belmont Report in 1979, emphasizing respect for persons, beneficence, and justice. In 1996, ICH E6 GCP brought global alignment. It was updated in 2016, R2, and we're now seeing the draft of R3, which modernizes the approach further for digital trials and patient-centered models. ICH GCP exists to create a unified standard for how clinical trials are conducted around the world. Before ICH was introduced, different countries and regions had their own sets of rules, which often led to duplication of work, delays in approvals, and inconsistencies in how studies were run. This was a problem not only for researchers and regulators, but also for participants, who sometimes faced unnecessary risk or redundant procedures. By harmonizing these requirements, GCP ensures that no matter where a trial takes place, whether in the US, Europe, Japan, or elsewhere, the fundamental principles are the same. This harmonization benefits everyone, participants, because their safety, rights, and dignity are protected to the same high standard worldwide. Researchers, because the data they collect is accepted and trusted across multiple regulatory authorities. Sponsors and regulators, because it reduces unnecessary duplication, speeds up review timelines, and makes it easier to collaborate internationally. At its heart, GCP rests on 3 key pillars: ethics, ensuring that every trial is designed and conducted in a way that respects participants and minimizes risk; safety, actively monitoring and protecting the health and well-being of participants throughout the study; data integrity, making sure that the data we collect is accurate, complete, and verifiable so that decisions about patient care and product approval are based on reliable evidence. If any one of these pillars is missing, the research cannot be considered valid or trustworthy. GCP is what holds all 3 together, creating a foundation that allows us to advance science responsibly while maintaining public trust. So when we talk about GCP, it's not just a set of regulations on paper. It's a shared global commitment to conducting research the right way, for the right reasons, and with the right protections in place. Let's talk about who enforces these standards in the real world. In the United States, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, is responsible for ensuring that any trial involving drugs, biologics, or medical devices meets strict safety and ethical requirements. They not only review protocols before trials start, but also inspect sites during and after the study. In Europe, the European Medicines Agency, EMA, works with member states to oversee trials, while in Japan, it's the Pharmaceuticals and Medical Devices Agency, PMDA. Other examples include Health Canada, the UK's Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, MHRA, Australia's Therapeutic Goods Administration, TGA, and even smaller but equally important bodies such as Saudi Arabia's SFDA. While processes differ, for example, some agencies require central ethics review while others rely on local committees, the mission is the same: protect participants, ensure scientific integrity, and maintain public trust. Imagine a multinational trial for a new cancer therapy. The sponsor must work simultaneously with the FDA, EMA, and PMDA, adapting documentation for each, while still maintaining a unified global standard under GCP. This is where harmonization becomes essential. Without it, each region could require a completely different study design, slowing innovation. Modern clinical research stands on two key moral pillars. First, the Declaration of Helsinki, drafted by the World Medical Association in 1964 and updated many times since. It insists that the well-being of the subject must outweigh the interests of science and society. Second, the Belmont Report, born out of the 1970s in the United States in response to ethical failures like the Tuskegee syphilis study. It gave us three guiding principles: respect for persons, honoring autonomy, and obtaining informed consent. Beneficence, maximizing benefits while minimizing harm. Justice, ensuring fair selection and treatment of participants. These aren't just lofty ideals. They show up in daily trial work. A protocol may be amended if new safety data emerges. Consent forms are reworded so they're clear to a layperson. Vulnerable populations, such as children or those with cognitive impairment, get additional protections. Think of these principles as the compass we return to when ethical dilemmas arise. A sponsor, investigator, or ethics committee can all point to them when deciding what's right. The ICH E6 guideline is essentially the backbone of GCP. It's the detailed instruction manual for how a clinical trial should be conducted from the planning stages to the archiving of data after it's over. The current version, R2, emphasizes three main areas: responsibilities of investigators and sponsors. Everything from designing the protocol to ensuring participant safety is clearly defined. Monitoring practices: historically, this meant frequent on-site visits and 100% source data verification. Documentation and record keeping, maintaining a complete, accurate, and auditable trail of every decision, procedure, and result. However, clinical research has changed dramatically. Studies are bigger, more global, and often involve technology that didn't exist when R2 was written. This is why R3 is in development. It's a modernization effort. It does not remove the rigor of GCP, but it changes how we meet those expectations. Encourages risk-based monitoring and focusing oversight on the most critical data and processes, rather than treating all information as equally high risk. Recognizes the value of real-world data, from electronic health records, patient registries, and wearable technology. Supports decentralized trials, allowing patients to participate from their homes or local clinics, reducing travel burdens and increasing diversity in trial populations. To visualize this, imagine a clinical trial for a diabetes medication. Under R2, most patient visits might occur at a central research site with in-person monitoring. Under R3, the same trial could involve home glucose monitoring devices linked to an app, telehealth visits, and targeted site monitoring based on data trends. R3's focus is flexibility without losing control, letting us adapt to modern tools and patient needs while still ensuring that the results are credible, the process is ethical, and the participants are safe. Over the coming years, as R3 moves from draft to adoption, we'll see sponsors, CROs, and sites shifting workflows, updating SOPs, and integrating more digital tools into trial conduct. A well-run trial relies on a network of clearly defined roles. Without this structure, tasks overlap, gaps emerge, and accountability weakens. Sponsor. This is the individual, company, institution, or organization that takes responsibility for initiating, managing, and financing the trial. The sponsor ensures compliance with regulations, manages trial design, and is ultimately accountable for the study's outcomes, even when tasks are delegated. Contract Research Organization, CRO. A CRO is often brought in to handle certain sponsor responsibilities such as site management, data collection, or monitoring. They can be essential when a trial spans multiple countries or involves specialized expertise. Investigator. This is the person responsible for conducting the trial at a site, ensuring participant safety, and maintaining compliance with the protocol. Investigators lead the clinical team at their site. Institutional Review Board. IRB, Independent Ethics Committee, IEC. These groups protect the rights and welfare of human participants, reviewing study protocols, informed consent forms, and any amendments throughout the trial. Monitors and auditors. Monitors verify data accuracy and compliance during the trial, while auditors perform independent reviews to ensure readiness for inspections. To illustrate, imagine a vaccine trial spanning the US, South Africa, and Brazil. The sponsor designs the study and funds it. A CRO manages the multinational logistics. Local investigators recruit and monitor participants, while each country's IRB IEC reviews the protocol for cultural and regulatory appropriateness. Monitors travel or connect remotely to ensure the data is recorded correctly, and auditors confirm everything is inspection ready. This structure isn't bureaucratic red tape. It's the framework that makes large, complex research possible while maintaining trust, safety, and quality. When these elements, regulatory guidance, ethical principles, and defined roles all align, you have the foundation for a trial that is not only compliant, but also efficient and ethical. A compliant trial is like a well-built bridge. It's strong because every component is designed to hold weight. The ethics documents like the Belmont Report and Declaration of Helsinki are the blueprint. GCP provides the engineering rules. The roles we just discussed are the construction crew. And the regulatory authorities are the inspectors who sign off that the bridge is safe to use. When one part of that system fails, maybe the monitoring isn't robust or the consent process is rushed, the whole bridge becomes unstable. That's why harmonization and GCP are not just technical requirements, but practical safeguards for everyone involved. In real-world terms, successful trials mean faster approvals, more reliable results, and most importantly, participant safety. Poorly managed trials risk invalid data, regulatory rejection, and damage to public trust. Once public trust is lost, recruitment slows down dramatically, and the entire field of research can suffer. This course will unpack the details of each of these elements so that by the end, you can not only follow GCP requirements, but also apply them in a way that's efficient and suited to your specific role. All right, so let's take a step back and see how all of this fits together. We've spent time going through the history, the ethics, the regulatory landscape, and the practical applications of good clinical practice, or GCP. Think of GCP as the foundation, like the concrete base of a building. Without a solid base, nothing else is stable. GCP is the framework that underpins trial design, execution, and reporting. If any of those pieces are shaky, you run the risk of producing data that isn't credible, or worse, putting patients at risk. Now, this program you're in right now is designed to take you from the basics, understanding the principles and why they matter, all the way to real-world application. That means that by the time we're done, you should not only be able to explain what GCP is, but also be able to apply it in actual research settings. You'll understand the why and the how. Here's the key formula I want you to remember. Ethics plus quality. Credible, compliant, and patient-safe trials. If you keep those three outcomes in mind, credibility, compliance, and safety, every decision you make will align with both regulatory requirements and moral obligations. Let me give you a quick real-world example. Imagine you're running a multi-site clinical trial for a new cancer therapy. Midway through, you find out one site is skipping over a part of the informed consent discussion to save time. On paper, this might look like just a procedural shortcut, but in practice, it's a direct breach of both ethics and GCP. By acting quickly to fix that, you're not just protecting the trial's validity, you're protecting human beings. That's GCP in action. Think for a moment about your own work or studies. Can you recall a situation where following a standard procedure exactly as written felt overly cautious at the time, but in hindsight prevented a problem? The bottom line, GCP isn't about making our lives harder with more rules. It's about ensuring that every trial we run, every decision we make stands up to scrutiny, both from regulators and from the people whose health and lives may depend on the results. Okay, now let's put some of what we've learned to the test with a quick knowledge check. This isn't about grading you. It's about reinforcing the concepts and making sure they're sticking. Question 1. Which document laid the groundwork for modern clinical research ethics? the Nuremberg Code. This was created after World War II in response to unethical human experimentation. It set the stage for everything that followed: informed consent, voluntary participation, and prioritizing the well-being of participants. Question 2. What is the primary role of the IRB or IEC? Their main job is to protect the rights, safety, and well-being of trial participants. That means reviewing protocols, monitoring ongoing studies, and making sure ethical standards are upheld. Question 3. Name one major addition in ICH E6R3. Some of you might recall that E6R3 puts more emphasis on risk-based quality management and integrating modern technology into trials. It's about evolving GCP to meet today's research realities. Question 4. Which agency oversees clinical trials in the U.S.? The FDA, Food and Drug Administration. And for device trials, you'd also be looking at oversight from the Center for Devices and Radiological Health, CDRH. Question 5. What are the 3 principles of the Belmont Report? Respect for persons, beneficence, and justice. Respect is about informed consent and autonomy. Beneficence is about maximizing benefits and minimizing harm. And justice is about fairness in how research benefits and burdens are distributed. The goal of this knowledge check isn't to memorize for the sake of it. It's to build the kind of fluency where these principles are second nature. That way, when you're in the field, you won't have to stop and think, what's the rule here? You'll already be working in line with it. Let's take a moment to pull everything together from today's session. We've covered quite a lot of ground, so this is your opportunity to mentally connect the dots and make sure the main ideas stick. ICH GCP as a unifying framework. At its core, ICH GCP is about harmonizing ethics and quality in clinical research. That means no matter where in the world a trial takes place, there's a shared set of principles protecting participants and ensuring that the data we collect is reliable. This global consistency is especially important now as multinational trials are becoming the norm rather than the exception. Multiple layers of regulation. We also touched on the fact that trials aren't just governed by one single authority. Regulatory bodies like the FDA, EMA, and PMDA each have their own requirements, and GCP helps weave them together into a common language. Think of it as a translator that makes sure research standards can be understood and upheld across borders. In GCP's ongoing evolution, we're now in the shift from R2 to R3, which is making the guidelines more digital ready and adaptable to modern trial designs. This is not just a technical update. It's about anticipating the needs of researchers, sponsors, and patients in a data-driven, tech-enhanced future. The importance of defined roles. Finally, clear responsibilities are essential for both accountability and safety. Whether someone is a PI, CRA, study coordinator, or data manager, knowing exactly where their duties start and end reduces errors, builds trust, and protects participants. Quick question for you all: if you had to explain GCP to someone who's never heard of it, in just one sentence, what would you say? Take a moment to think about it, and if you feel like sharing, raise your hand. There's no perfect answer, but if your explanation includes ethics, participant protection, and data quality, you're on the right track. Remember, today's session was about building a strong foundation. In the coming weeks, we'll layer on more specifics about investigator responsibilities, documentation, and monitoring. But every piece of that will tie back to what we've discussed today: ethics, quality, regulation, and clarity of roles. That's the heart of GCP. Before we officially wrap up, I just want to take a moment to thank each of you for your attention and engagement today. Over the past hour, we've explored the foundations of clinical research and ICH GCP, from understanding the historical context and ethical principles to recognizing the different stakeholders and their responsibilities in modern clinical trials. Whether you're new to this field or already have some experience, I hope today gave you both the why and the how behind good clinical practice. These aren't just abstract rules. They're what protect participants, ensure credible results, and ultimately move healthcare forward in a responsible way. Remember, GCP is not a one-time checklist. It's a mindset, a commitment to ethics, quality, and continuous improvement in every trial you touch. Even if you work in just one small part of a study, your role connects to a bigger picture, and that makes your contribution incredibly valuable. Before we close, I'd like you to reflect on one question. What is one action you can take after today to strengthen compliance and ethical conduct in your own work? It might be something small, like revisiting SOPs, asking clarifying questions about your responsibilities, or encouraging open communication in your team, but those small actions build trust and quality over time. Once again, thank you for your participation and thoughtful attention today. This is just the start of your GCP journey, and I encourage you to keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep your focus on both scientific rigor and human dignity. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing how you put today's insights into practice.